Right, we'll get started here in just a minute. One of our chairs is having some technical difficulties.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, let me try to share again my screen. Okay. Do you see the slides?
Slides are visible.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry for this slight delay. I guess when I stopped my camera, something happened. I have no idea. Okay, so this is the COSE virtual meeting. It's an official IETF meeting, and as such, the note well applies. If you are not familiar with it, please read it carefully and make sure to understand it before participating in discussions and similar. You can ask the chairs if you have any questions about it. So with that, this is our agenda. We'll be presenting the status of current drafts, and then we'll see some new work that will be followed by discussions about rechartering. As usual, the presence will be noted. For this, we'll be using the Etherpad, and the minutes will be taken. I believe Matthew shared a link already in the chat, and it's also in Jabber. In any case, if you have any problems with that, just let us know and we'll help you.
So please sign the blue sheet.
Yes. Okay. So now the status of the drafts. We have the #seq draft that is still in the RC editor queue. I have not checked how many items are there before it, but I can imagine that there will be some updates soon on it, given that other documents that got in the queue a little bit before it have already been processed. Then we have the web authent algorithms draft. That one has it had some issue with the data tracker that is now fixed, and we are waiting for AD evaluation and go ahead. Yeah, I don't know, Ben, if you have anything to comment here.
Not too much to say. My queue of documents to get to is longer than I would like, and there's a few things in front of these, but next week I expect to make good progress on my queue, not necessarily on the COSE documents specifically.
Okay. Thank you. So yes, recently we also published the Shepard reviews for the BIS documents. So now they're also waiting for AD review and go ahead. And there was a small error to be corrected in the metadata of the BIS-AUX draft. So with that, guess here there's not more to be said. For the hash AUX and the X509, they are currently waiting for Shepard to review. I'm the shepherd of those documents, and for the first one, I just need to update the write-up with some recent modifications, and it will be ready also to be shipped to the AD. And similarly for X509, I think I'm pretty close to having the Shepard write-up ready, so I expect in the following 1-2 weeks to have those published. I suppose there are no comments here, so I will carry on. Okay, I'm going to the CBOR compressed certificate and John. COSE compressed certificate. Yes. Okay, John. Okay.
Are we taking this now? Or?
I guess, yes.
Oh, I thought it was in the end. Yeah. No, okay, great. So this is presentation of a new draft. We submitted a couple of weeks ago. Can take next slide.
Okay.
Yeah. So X509 certificates when used, they take up a quite large part of the total number of bytes when used in COSE and also in other security protocols like TLS. And best practice is now to encrypt all identities and private information. And this means that a lot of old IoT practice to compress things in gateways and decompress them in gateways doesn't really work and will not work in the future. Instead, any compression needs to be done in the protocol itself. So Draft Mattsson registered a new attribute, CBOR chain, similar to X5 chain, to convey X509 certificate chain compressed with CBOR. The CBOR compression algorithm specified in draft RASA is CBOR certificates. This compression algorithms have previously been presented in Ting-to-Ting RG and SEC dispatch. It has, however, never been presented in ACE, even if it's submitted there. Feedback from the SEC dispatch presentation was to much more detailed, illustrate what the differences between the profile in RFC 7925 was, and also to come up with more concrete examples on what the compression are and compare it to other existing compression algorithms. So draft RASA has been changed to now aiming to be compatible with all RFC 7925 certificates. There are some things that are not supported yet, but the aim is to support these things in the future. And RFC 7925 is a certificate profile for TLS, but it feels like a quite good profile also for other IoT protocols and environments. And as we have seen that applying general compression algorithms, at least without the dictionary, we have not tried any dictionaries, you're basically not able to compress highly profiled certificates at all, or in best case, very, very, very little. Take next slide. So as an example, we have made a RFC 7925X509 certificate. It ends up with 314 bytes. When we try to compress this with zlib, which is a quite common compression algorithms, and one of the compression algorithms standardized in the TLS certificate compression, that then you only get 9% compression. And this is definitely not chosen to get bad results for zlib. In fact, a lot of the example certificates with only small changes to the one we used here, then zlib actually increased the size. And with our CBOR compression algorithm, we get a compression of 57%, resulting in 136 bytes in total. So obviously this can compact, make highly profiled certificates much more compact with compression. It's compatible with X509, at least everything that is RFC 7925 profiled. The compression algorithm itself have quite small footprint when it comes to code and also processing. But of course, the negative, you still need to support ASM there to be able to, at least on the verifying side, when you decompress the certificate, then you get the derivative coded X509 again. Next slide. And this is just the example certificate that we used. We think it's a quite good example certificate for IoT use case. And on the right, you see the CBOR compression, which is a CBOR sequence. And in the draft RASA, you can also find the certificate as a byte string if you want to try some other compression algorithm. So next slide. So basically, we think there is a use case for certificate compression in COSE. I don't know if that has been discussed before. In that case, I have missed it. And we think that it seems this would be a very good fit for COSE, as it can compress IoT profile certificates quite much. Another question is RFC 7925 profile useful for COSE, or is something missing? Other follow-up questions is what kind of headers should then be supported for compression? Now we just took X5 chain and compressed that and suggested a new header, but a lot of other options is possible. For example, you could signal this with a header, where one is a COSE header attribute, defining, for example, X5 chain bag T or U, and the second parameter is an identifier for the compression algorithm. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you, John. So are there any comments for those questions. I mean, for now, I think we are a very small number of people, so if anyone has comments, I think it's okay to directly start talking. If we see that we have problems, we can always switch to the plus Q, minus Q thing that have been used in some other meetings.
Michael Richardson. Should it be one document or should it be merged in with the as a CBOR certificate document?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a possible thing that could be done. And also, I guess if people wants to do compression, another question is should the X509 be changed so that it's already now a array or something?
I would be not too happy with changing the current X509 document for something that is speculative.
Yeah.
In terms of, is it going to be done? Where is it going to be done? Points are relatively cheap. The only fun part would be how do you write the document in such a way that if you have both an X509 bag and a compressed X509 bag, what do you do? I think it makes much more, I think Michael's right, it makes much more sense to define these headers in the compression document, in your profile document itself.
Yeah, that sounds
And I think,
reasonable.
and given how short your document is, I think that it would just be seen as, you know, more IESG churn for less, no additional light.
Yeah, I agree that the documents are both short enough that having them consolidated seems helpful to everybody. I would also make sort of a meta note, which is that in some sense, this type of compression is a static context compression, and that you know a lot about what the structure of the data to be compressed is going to be ahead of time. And so you can use that sort of static context information about the structure to get good compression. I a little bit wonder if there is going to be a sort of more generic way to apply the same type of compression to other ASN1 dir encoded objects, as I think was mentioned in the Jabber. But I don't think we need to worry too much about that generic problem right now, because the specific nature of the static context is indicated by the CBOR field name that we're using. And so if we do end up doing something else in the future that's more generic, it would have a different name. And so I don't think there's a risk of conflict there.
Would it get a CBOR tag?
I'm not actually sure off the top of my head, sorry.
Are you planning to use it any place other than COSE?
We have also submitted a draft to TLS for using the TLS certificate compression extension.
Okay, so that's already that has a tag which is defining it, so it doesn't need a CBOR tag by itself for that purpose.
You could still define one just if there is an application that needs to carry these things on their own. So tags are not very expensive.
Well, I'm thinking that the 9, I'm looking in the RASA document, that 9.1, it creates a CBOR certificate types registry, and that looks like to me that could be replaced with 2 tags. And then I look at 9.2 and I wonder a CBOR certificate signature algorithms registry, and I wonder if COSE already has such a thing. I think it looks like it must, I would think, but I could be wrong. And the other registry looks like I can't, like, I have to look at the COSE document, but they both look like they could just use registries from COSE. Of course, they're defining X509 things, not COSE things, but that may be a bit weird if you got rid of them.
There's not necessarily a one-to-one mapping from OIDs to COSE IDs.
Agreed.
That may cause and that will cause a problem.
We started looking at using COSE. It looked a bit complex. Due to lack of time, we went for a new registry. Yeah, I think there are complexities with using COSE, but it would be also good if the IoT device doesn't have two different tables.
What if you propose to extend the in a PKIX registry with a new column? That would probably be a bigger can of worms.
That would
But,
be a
but then
bigger
it would be an
can of worms,
obvious
yes.
mapping between OID and whatever. And if someone comes along with a new algorithm and puts a new OID in, they would also do something for this.
We have
So there's lots of algorithms that are defined with OIDs outside of the ARC maintained by IANA, such as RSA.
And all of the NIST
Point.
algorithms.
I would encourage you to pick another path.
Seems like people are quite positive. I haven't heard any negative opinion. And where would this, do the AD have any suggestion where this merged draft containing both the algorithm and the IANA registration for protocols would belong?
I would have to take a little bit closer look. It might belong here, but please send me an email and I will get a better answer.
I'm not the AD, but I think that COSE would be a very good group to do this, because this is really, the COSE group is really all about using CBOR right for security. And you are using CBOR for security here, so I think that would be a great fit.
I think COSE is a better answer than ACE, but Jim may have an opinion.
I was actually might be TLS, because I think this is something that CTLS may really want to use.
I was thinking about that as well, but I am not sure if CTLS is going to end up actually using CBOR versus some other custom encoding format.
I don't know.
But yeah, they could still use the compressed certificates.
Since 7925 came out of TLS to begin with, I think COSE is a better answer than ACE is.
I agree with that, yes.
I think there is a certain danger that people start messing with this and saving another bit somewhere by deviating from CBOR. So I would feel much better if we could keep this in a working group that actually knows something about CBOR.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be happy to submit the merge draft to COSE if the COSE working group is positive to that.
So this is related to our next topic, which is the rechartering, or what should be the future of the working group. I think we have a few slides about that, but basically our current charter states that we are to update the 8152 sorry. Okay, yeah, Matthew, if you want, you can do this. Yeah.
Yeah, so our current charter was very specific and very limited on what was in scope for the working group. And if there was to be anything else, we would need to rechart. And so this is snippets from the current charter where it does pretty clearly say 8152 BIS, hash signatures, hash algorithms, and X509, and the web op-ed. And that was it. So if we want to do anything else, we would, at least according to this charter, we would need to rechart it. So the next slide, please.
Yeah.
So with this, especially with this discussion on the cert compression, there was also Jim towards the end of last year had written the Alex document that right now has one. Certainly, this working group, I mean, it has the people to evaluate these things. So the question is there anything, is this something the working group is interested in doing? And is there anything else we maybe want to be looking for?
Moskowitz has asked for some of the KMAC stuff at one point in time as an additional algorithm set. I kind of want to do that just to screw up all the Ericsson people over in ACE. I think that the only KDF is HMAC based, but that's just a personal quirk of mine.
Okay.
One thing that I would like to see at some point is a derivation of the CBOR cert compress work that actually has a signature that does not require the detour over DER. I'm not sure we are ready for that yet, but I think that would be a pretty obvious next step with the cert compress work.
Yeah, I agree.
So do you mind repeating that name one more time? My audio glitched.
So right now, to use one of these compressed CBOR certs, you need to the receiver needs to re-encode it into ASN1 DER and compute check the signature based on that. And for many applications, it would be nice if that step could be omitted.
For performance reasons, I understand what you're advocating, but it would require current certificate authority infrastructure to stand up a new kind of certificate. I would like to know whether those certificate authorities are willing to do so.
So one example is draft RASA actually the first bit int you see there is a 1 for compression and 0 for a native certificate. No, there are other suggestions for CBOR certificates, so I have not been talking about that. But Draft Rasa is co-authored by a Swedish CA that says that they would be willing to implement this kind of thing if needed for IoT.
So my answer to Russ's question would be, the answer is certainly no, if there is no specification to use for that. So whether the answer is yes, if there is a specification, that's indeed an interesting question.
I think that is what my question really was. If we if we specify it, will they come?
This is Matthew. I think I've personally seen a lot of evidence that does not support that. At least not from public CAs. For instance, there's a number of documents that define additional subject alt names for different types of subject alt names, and almost no CAs have adopted any of those.
Recent argument on EMU between everybody and Ryan would also tend to support the fact that at least that world of CAs is not going to be interested.
Yeah, I'm probably more interested because in IoT we don't necessarily always want to use WebAPI routes.
Yeah, I think we should. It's not important that all CA implement this. We should check with IoT focused CA.
Yeah, I think my take from the discussion on EMU with Ryan was more along the lines of, you need someone who's willing to pay the certificate authority operators a sizable chunk of money in order to get them to actually do something using it. But they are perfectly happy to do new things if you pay them enough.
And that's what I heard too.
Okay, so what could be the way, I mean, maybe the way forward with this is we can first see how we handle just the CBOR certificate compression and look at that after at least we have a little bit more clarity on that one. Okay, so now going back to the rechartering. Well, that's it. So if we decide to do this additional work, I mean, if Ben decides also that it's a good fit, then I don't know, we can have a discussion maybe on the mailing list to decide if we would want to have some document that describes this now, whether we want to first work on the certificate compression, have an RFC there, and then tackle this. How does that sound as a way forward?
I think that sounds good. I think we have the interest and the people to work on the additional topics that have been mentioned. So I don't see a problem to recharter to add them on, especially since we've been making good progress with the current milestones.
Okay.
This is Matthew. So I think one additional question is, do we still want to be as constrained as we are today? Meaning, with this recharter, we are picking up specific work, and if we are to pick up anything else after that, would require yet another recharter. Personally, I think that's still the right way to go, but I'm curious what others think.
I agree.
I think I would like to see us very constrained on anything that is not new algorithms, so that we have to really think about whether it's work we want to do. I'm less worried about being really constrained on saying, oh, we've got this new algorithm that people are coming in here and want to do, and we need to recharter for that purpose.
Seems reasonable to not have to recharter for new algorithms, but I do think that we should still be equipped to apply some level of skepticism to, do we need official IETF endorsement for this particular algorithm?
You don't want to do Simon?
Hope the group could do that without a recharter.
So just to reiterate what I think I'm hearing is, so we should continue to be constrained for anything that's not an algorithm. We should be more open for accepting anything that is defining or bringing an algorithm, into COSE. Does that sound correct?
Yes,
I think
that's
that,
carry on, please.
I think that a potential way to do it would be to say that we can deal with algorithms which would be IETF consensus algorithms. And then we can argue on new drafts about whether or not we believe this is going to be an IETF consensus yes algorithm.
Okay, I think that makes sense, other than I believe almost all algorithms are defined through the IRTF to date. I get your meaning.
Well, for example, I don't think that any of the KMAX stuff has gone through the CFRG. Does that mean, but I think that we would probably be IETF consensus yes on all of the new SHA-3 algorithms.
Okay.
I would like to see KMAC specified for COSE.
Speaking as chair, I think what I'm hearing is that there's definitely interest. We chairs will solicit on the list very shortly about text. We are, at least with this group, we have consensus to keep the charter constrained for anything other than algorithms. For algorithms, we can be open to new ones, especially for things that have IETF consensus. But we can still push back if there's questions. So the chairs will submit the questions to the list to get confirmation and start working on text. Is anybody on this call going to help define that text?
I will certainly volunteer to provide some text if you want me to, as opposed to reviewing your text.
Thank you. Anybody else? You can raise hands if you don't want to speak. We'll confirm on the list and maybe see if that's listing some others. So I think we can move on. Eva.
Okay. So are there any other topics that you would want to discuss? Anything else really? It seems that there are no other topics to be discussed for now. So I think we can stop the meeting here. Thank you everyone for the participation.
It looks like everybody signed blue sheets, so I think we are a wrap. Thank you, everybody.